What's up, people? What's up, people? It's your boy MM2K of PNTS Network, Hard Knock Digital Culture, Cloud Dosage, and Geeks back again with another video. This is going to be a special members first or possibly members only, depending upon how I feel, video in regards to something that just popped up. And this is a new series that we're going to run because I feel like it's important for me to better categorize and catalog the type of content that we have here. So this new series is called The Medicine Exam. All right. And this is an offshoot of The Medicine, where The Medicine is going to be our weekly show on MM2K Gaming on YouTube, where we talk about like the big topic of the past 7 days. Here we're going to just randomly talk about one-off subject matters, but this is going to be for the members. It'll either be members first or members only. We also have content in the form of Lyrics to Go. Lyrics to Go is our series where where like I'm just chilling. I might be somewhere. I might bust out the phone, start recording, talking about some things, share some thoughts with you, and just put it out there for you to listen. Where it's mainly all audio, right? And then we have NRO Daily. NRO Daily is our like ad hoc. I want to talk about a video or I want to talk about something. I'm just going to throw it out there. Something mainly that just happened, a big topic or whatever. There's no timeline, there's no cadence to it, you know what I mean? So just so you know, when it comes to our snippet videos, the NRO dailies and the medicine is definitively every week. The NRO daily is going to be just whenever it happens. NRO Daily, the capsule, just whenever we take a snippet. I think we might be putting the capsule to bed. Because the capsule is a snippet of the NRO podcast, which used to be a solo affair. But now we got a panel, you know what I mean? So the capsule might be, put to bed, but NRO dailies will happen. You know what I'm saying? We might just call it NRO snippet or something like that. You know what I mean? So with that said, let's get into today's topic. Today's topic is a very interesting one because something weird has happened. Okay, so Starfield. We all should be familiar with Starfield, right? Starfield is the big Xbox title from Bethesda. It was like the biggest game period when it comes to second to Cyberpunk. And I mean that solely in anticipation. Like after Cyberpunk released and it, didn't really live up to expectations, then there was word Starfield was coming, and Bethesda has a long pedigree. So because of that, Starfield was looked at as, okay, now this may live to fruition and may live up to those lofty expectations that were set by Cyberpunk. Maybe this is the game of the generation. Even it was being called that by Xbox, by Bethesda, and we even had Sarah Bond come on stage and say that Starfield is the most important RPG of our time. So there was a lot put under this game, so the expectations were high. Now Phil tried to come on the Kinda Funny network for their Kinda Funny Xcast, and he tried to tamper down the expectations of the game. He said even if Starfield is an 11 out of 10, it doesn't matter. We're not going to sell more Xboxes. So he was trying to say, Starfield is going to be what it is. But we have a lot of hope and anticipation around this title. So what ended up happening is Starfield releases. And because so much hype was built around Starfield, it was going to do numbers. I don't care how big of a fanboy that you are or you are. If you didn't think that Starfield was going to do numbers, all you had to do was go look back at Cyberpunk, who even though Cyberpunk had its issues on console, it still sold a total of 13 million in its first 2 weeks. So even if Starfield didn't live up to its expectations, it still was going to sell well out of the gate because of the anticipation and the hype built around the game. And Starfield did just that first month, even though it was day and date in Game Pass, which that is phenomenal. You can't take that away from Starfield. That even though it was day and date in Game Pass, Starfield, and then it soared to the top not only in Xbox Game Pass, but PC Game Pass. And not only did it soar to the top in PC Game Pass, which it's not too much of a lofty expectation, even though you do have some hitters in there. But the biggest thing is it soared to the top of Windows gaming. It beat games like Candy Crush that have like a following that is just unbelievable. Starfield killed it on the Windows Store. Now, granted, you may say, well, the Windows Store ain't the biggest place to play Candy Crush. It's probably just a small chunk. Maybe so, but still, no other Xbox game prior has come even close to those games. So it was available day and date there, and it still was the number one selling game on Steam. I mean, via Steam for that month in the US. That's huge. You can't take that. So Starfield had a crazy opening month. Nope. Anybody that believed otherwise was just fooling themselves. I knew it. I remember arguing with people in DM saying this game is going to kill it on PC. I had my doubts on console because of the 30 frames per second, and I believe my doubts were substantiated. But still, even just like, again, because I'm a steward of history. I'm a steward of precedent, and really the reason why I keep falling on the right end of this stuff is because I recognize patterns. I don't just sit here in my chair in front of my mic and just make stuff up. I don't do that because that's counterintuitive to helping you guys and gals understand the landscape, and myself is included, helping understand the landscape that is coming before us. You know what I mean? So I'm a steward of history. I'm a researcher of patterns. Like I do it for a living. That's part, I deal with in databases, SQL, other types of things. And I got to study demographics and do different solicitations and things like that. That was just part of my pedigree and my 25 plus years in corporate, Fortune 500, Fortune 100. Now we make Fortune 100 business, right? So because of that, I just studied things and I understood that the precedent that was set with Cyberpunk. And I looked at so many dynamics that were very similar to Cyberpunk. And so then I just carried that over to my expectations for Starfield. And guess what? I was right. Cyberpunk had bugs and issues and things that really turned a sour tune to console gamers. A lot still tried it because all the buzz, they're like, no, I'm gonna try this for myself. And a lot were disappointed. And I feel like the same happened with Xbox, even though I feel like a lot of Xbox gamers who already had Game Pass, I feel like that they circled around Starfield probably more than any other game that has ever hit Game Pass. I don't really feel that it turned on a bunch of new gamers to the platform. That's a problem. Why is that a problem? It's a problem because Game Pass not only wants you to be engaged with it because they want you to stay acclimated to the service, but they need new subscribers. Right now, they're pumping way more money into the service than they're getting back that is acceptable long term. They're loss leading right now, so it's acceptable to them now. But Game Pass doesn't work if Microsoft is stuck at 35 million or even 40 million. Like Game Pass, I thought it was just 80 million. I thought they had to see saturation of like 360 numbers without the console costs. If they were to see like 80 million or above, they would be happy. No, they've showed org charts that were released in court to where they want that saturation at 100 million. So Game Pass at only half of that with what they're spending. And then you also got to take into consideration the money that gets cannibalized when they put their own games in there. I mean, you got ABK games that are likely coming day and date to Game Pass. We're talking like some 500 million above for each game when it's developed, going directly into Game Pass. A lot of people that make big budget games, they're out here saying that $70 now ain't enough. They're saying that the price of games should have been opened up a long time ago, and they should be 80 plus now. $80 each game now, right? You even got some people saying that for big budget games, they should charge you by the minute. Right? Like you get the game and they charge you by the minute. Others are saying that, that there's just not enough squeeze out of these gamers to justify these games in the likelihood that there's going to be flops with every 10 attempts. Like Yoshida told you himself, even the mighty PlayStation, he said only 2 out of every 10 exclusive games that they curate or make the money to justify, to justify the other 8, and only 4 are out of the red. But only out of that 4 that are out of the red, only 2 justify the, you know what I mean? So they gotta strike gold with 2, and the 2 that they strike gold with will subsidize the other 8, but that's the best you're gonna get. So there's a lot of risk involved with these AAA games. So a lot of people are saying that even $70 isn't enough. So why did I bring that up? Because now you're running into a dynamic where it's not just that $70 ain't enough, but with games going into Game Pass day and date, you're now running into a scenario where people are being able to play Starfield for $10, $15 a month. And then if they don't like the game, they can just back away from it. That's a ballsy move. And that's a ballsy move that I don't feel like it's sustainable long term if your quality isn't up to par. And that's the argument with Starfield. I'm not even talking about the critics. I'm not even talking about the journos, because I feel like that the critics and the journos are being overly nice to Xbox because of its rabid community. I feel like that Starfield is a 7. There's so much there. There's so much rich stuff there. It's just not connected properly. It's so disjointed, so mundane, lacks density. It is so it's so uncommon of the Bethesda Softworks game. It doesn't have that Bethesda Softworks magic that is atypical there. With the Bethesda Softworks game, you got dense populations of buildings and places to discover and journey, and everything doesn't feel so disjointed. Now, granted, this is a space game. You're going to travel, but when you hit somewhere, there's just vast nothingness. and vast nothingness never worked. That's the antithesis of the BSG magic. And we can't sit there and say, well, oh, it's a space sim. So because it's a space sim, there being vast nothingness should be expected. Here's the problem with this. I want you to look at the character and look at his suit. I want you to look at the fact that the character can carry rods and bowling balls and all this crazy type of stuff. I want you to look at just various other things that happen in this game that are also the antithesis of simulation when it comes to space. To call Starfield a space simulator is a lie. There are some type of realistic aesthetics that may be there, but they're only there, but it's only the shallow ones. They only speak realism when it comes to the shallowness of the game. Well, in real life, but then there's all this other stuff that's happening in the game that are elements from typical BSG games that completely eradicate the simulation nature of the game. Well, I mean, they have to do that to make it fun. Yes. So you can't argue both. You can't argue we threw in this Fallout type of atmosphere that is the antithesis of simulation to make it fun, but walking across planets and journeying across vast empty planets, oh, we did that for the realism, but it's not fun. You got to make up your mind. Or you're going to take certain elements of perceived space flight. Like you can't travel in light years. That's impossible. Einstein has theories, theoretical formulas, but it hasn't been done. It hasn't been done yet. And even Einstein himself said it's likely never going to be done. It's just a theory if it would be possible. So it's not real. And definitely the spacecrafts that we're seeing that have the Fallout dystopian type look to, if you are going to accomplish space flight, you're not building a ship like what you're seeing on Starfield. Those things would crumble. It's not real. It's just realness was used as an excuse to excuse the empty and the incomplete parts of the game. Because they decided to make it so big. What they basically did is they took the Kool-Aid, the picture of Kool-Aid, and someone tapped him on the shoulder and said, hold on, no. There's not 10 people coming. You must have misheard me. There's 100 people coming. We need more Kool-Aid. And instead of mixing the appropriate mix to water, they just take that picture and add more water that they can pour into 100 cups. And then you got Starfield. You got the makings of something that was definitely there. More polish in certain ways, like the gunplay and stuff. More polish in certain ways than you've ever seen in the BSG games. Yes, there's elements and flashes of that there, but the entire product is just watered down Kool-Aid that was originally to serve 10 people. It was watered down to serve 100, meaning. And you had one of the former developers too that went on an interview and said, if they would, our original suggestion was just go and make it around 100 planets. And they made it around 1,000 solar systems or something like that. It just got bloated, and the density and the substance wasn't increased to meet the bloated aspects of the game. And that's where the tiles, the auto-generated tiles and stuff came in that people look at and they're like, this is just, this is absurd. This cuts the immersion. If this was supposed to be real, then when I journey on a planet, I shouldn't have to go to 5 or 6 different spots, and then one of the spots that I journeyed to before is gone. If you're going for the realness, then you're going for realness. You cannot use realness as an excuse when there's empty, incomplete voids to say, well, in real life, I don't land on tiles. In real life, when I want to fly a plane to a planet, I'm not flying it to a Google image that I can fly through. So that's the controversy that in regards to the take of Starfield and how gamers feel about it, including myself. Not all gamers feel about it. Some gamers feel it's their game of the generation, or that they feel like it's the game of the year, and that's fine. I'm not mad at anybody how they perceive something. You like what you like. But the objective takeaway from this is that the general gamers that interact with this game don't feel that way. They've come away feeling like this game is like in between a 6 and a 7. And I feel like the only publications that got it right were the ones that gave it a 7. Like IGN, I think GameSpot was done. All the ones that gave it a 7, I think they came away with it right. Maybe a 6 is too harsh, but an 8 is definitely too high. But because I think a lot of outfits, they knew they couldn't give this a 9 or a 10. They knew they couldn't, but they just felt like, you know what? We don't want to hear the Xbox backlash and now this Xbox tax thing. We don't want to hear it. So, okay. I mean, we'll give it an 8.5 or an 83 or whatever. You know what I mean? Just so the backlash isn't catastrophic. So that's the story, right? That's what happened with the game and its reception, its general reception. How, the staunchest fanboys or zealots or even just enthusiasts of the game felt versus the general populace. And the game right now, I think, is like mixed reviews on Steam. Everywhere else where gamers have interacted with the game and they can only leave scores after purchase, the game is like at a 7 or below. Okay. So that in turn has created this thing where, let me see if I can find it. Give me a second. Give me one moment. We're going to pull it up. All right. So let's do. All right. Wow, that is horrible. I didn't realize it got that low. Yeah, this is bad. So if you look at Starfield now, Starfield is now at a 66. And so that's mixed. 66.9. There are 15,000 people in game. Hell, let's do this. Let's go to Skyrim. I am human. Yes, I am. All right. Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Okay, that's that one. I wonder if there's, so there's 2,000 people in Skyrim, but let me check the other editions just to make sure. Okay, so the special edition has more people in it than Starfield. Skyrim is a game that came out. Well, this edition came out 7 years ago. How old is Skyrim altogether? 12 years old. So actually, you reasonably can add the two together. There's some people that have the original game, some people that have the special edition. The special edition. So there's 20, close. You could say 25,000, close to it. People playing, almost 10,000 more people playing Skyrim than playing Starfield right now. For a game that just came out a month ago or a couple of months ago, that's not good for a Bethesda Softworks game. Let's do this. Let's just see how deep it goes. See Fallout 4. Okay, and look, Fallout 4 is relatively close. Fallout 4 is almost 10 years old too. It's an 8-year-old game. So Fallout 4 has 13,000 people playing it right now. Let me try another one. Now this is a live service game. 7,300. Now Fallout 76, with its, poor rating, has around 7,300 players in it. And I think that's indicative of the score. That's indicative of the inception, but it also has a higher score than Starfield at the moment. And the reason why this is a problem is that Bethesda Softworks games are not your atypical single player game. They are games that people play forever and ever and ever. Like you look at Fallout. You look at Starfield. You look at Skyrim. You look at Fallout 4. Like people are still playing those games. Let me see. Fallout 3. I just want to see what for Game of the Year edition. Okay, there's only 524 in that game. But that, Fallout 3 is old as dirt. There's 81 in Fallout 3. Like Fallout 3 was the original package. What is it? Okay, there's no games in that. Fallout 3 is the original game that started it off for Bethesda, breaking out of the mold. But their games get played forever and ever, right? Let me see Fallout New Vegas. Even these are old games. I just want to get a sense of how they're doing now. Why is there 2 Fallout New Vegases? The Fallout New Vegas has 598. Like, these are old games. Okay, so this one, that's weird. That one has 3,000. Fallout New Vegas has 3,000. See, you see what I'm saying? Fallout New Vegas came out 13 years ago. Like, Bethesda games get played forever and ever and ever because they are hundreds and hundreds of hours of fun gameplay. Like, I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours in multiple Fallout games and to never even beat the game because the worlds are so expansive, they're so huge, and it's just so much fun journeying and grabbing stuff. I've never beat Fallout 4, never beat Fallout New Vegas. I just had fun journeying, right? So because of that, Starfield, people may argue, oh, it's a single player game. Its drop off from a few hundred thousands at launch to now just under 15,000 isn't a big deal because single player games drop off. Or let's do charts. Most played games. So let's take a look at Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate is a single player experience. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Baldur's Gate has as enough content. It has a lot in it, don't get me wrong, but Baldur's Gate doesn't have as much content as Fallout. And Baldur's Gate is still at times peaking over. It's still peaking over 100,000. Its all-time peak was at 875,000, right? Let me see if I can get low enough on the chart to see Starfield. I may have passed it up. Where's okay, here goes Starfield. Okay, Starfield's all-time peak was 330,000. And now it's down to 15,000. Let's do some math real quick. So let's compare both of the games. Let's see. Let's go back up to the top. Let's do some math. Okay, 875 versus 77. Okay. But first I'm going to do Starfield. Starfield peaked at 330,000. Right? And it's now at 15,000. So that's a 4% retention rate since its launch, right? And mind you, Starfield came out after Baldur's Gate. So Starfield has a 4% retention rate from its highest peak since launch. Let's now look at Baldur's Gate, where Baldur's Gate is now at 77,000, but it was once at 875,000. That's an 8% retention rate. Here's the difference between Baldur's Gate and Starfield. Baldur's Gate was never a day and date game into a service that was meant to be an anchor for all its other titles. Like, Starfield was supposed to bring people back to Gamepass, keep them in Gamepass, and therefore they would like try out the other games in Gamepass. That's why you take a game as expensive as Starfield, put it in Gamepass day and date, because it's supposed to be the one game that, you know, that brings people to the platform, to Gamepass, and makes the platform profitable and sustainable, and gets it out of the loss leading element and puts it back into, you know, but it puts it into like, okay, this is the thing that elevates us into a higher echelon in gaming, and it's not doing that. Let's take a look at Starfield. Let's take a look at the most played games on Xbox. Starfield is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's 10th, which isn't horrible, but it's 10th. If we go to let's go to Xbox Game Pass. Now, if this is the game of the century, at the very least, you would want this to be the number one pull to in Xbox Game Pass for console, right? So we're about to see. And it's not, it's Minecraft. It's still high up there, but it's no longer, it's no longer the gravitational pull that they need it to be, particularly on console. Why do I say that? Because the month that Starfield released, the Xbox console lost out to PlayStation, who actually dipped in their hardware sales year over year, I believe it was, when it came to NPD/Circana. Right. And it's still not too far off the new game that's available day and date in Gamepass. Is still not too far from Skyrim. Let's also take a look at what it's doing on PC. So if we go to PC, I got to go to most popular. Wow. See, this is the biggest tell. Have you seen? Oh my God. Oh my God. So now Game Pass, I mean, now Starfield, this is where Starfield was supposed to create its pool. It's one thing if it's number 2 on console. We know that the console engagement is simply the same old people. Like, nobody's really enthused to go out and buy an Xbox console to play Starfield, because Starfield underwhelms on the Xbox console because it's 30 frames per second. And that was a big hurt piece for the game, it being 30 frames per second on. So most of its engagement, you know what I'm saying, as far as bringing in new people, most of its engagement was going to be PC. And now we look at it on PC, and it's not even being engaged as much as Warhammer 40,000 Darktide. It's like down there. That's kind of bad. It's down there. And now I'm going to go to the tell-all be-all. Okay, well, it may be down there in overall PC, but again, MM2K, you said it yourself. This is PC gaming. There's a lot of free, mobile style games in there. Let's narrow it down to Game Pass. How well is it doing in Game Pass? Well, let's take a look. And it's losing out now to not only Halo Infinite, but Sea of Thieves, Age of Empires, and Warhammer Darktide. That's why I think you're seeing these sharp declines here as it relates to Starfield, because the PC engagement just is off keister. And Microsoft really needed that PC engagement to be up, because that's where their growth potential is at when it comes to Game Pass. It's not on console. They've admitted that they've run into a brick wall with console, and you can look at the console sales itself. Like, in a month where Sony not only dipped in their hardware sales comparative, I think year over year or month to month, and Sony really had nothing coming out. And then you have the game that you pegged the game of the generation. You still lost to Sony in sales. You lost to PlayStation in units sold. I mean, you lost to the Switch, which is starting to cap her off. You lost to them in units sold. You may have beat them in dollars because you have a more expensive console out there, but you lost to them in units sold. You were basically last place in the month that Starfield came out. So that's why I say the console, there's no hope for their growth there. The growth is on PC and elsewhere, the hope for it. And look how far Starfield fell off. So when you see headlines here, let me see if I can pull them up. Give me a second. When you see headlines like this, Starfield could be in trouble as player numbers plummet. Even with commercial and critical success, Bethesda's long-awaited sci-fi RPG is falling off quicker than its predecessors. Exactly, that's the point. This is the months leading up to Starfield and the launch or an event, whether you were a fan of Bethesda titles or following the industry, right? It says there were shortcomings with combat and loading screens and all the other stuff and so forth, and cut to nearly 3 months later, Starfield is discussed for entirely different reasons. It's gone from a very positive rating on Steam to mostly positive and now mixed. On Metacritic, Starfield user score is currently at 7. On Xbox, based the 11,100 ratings, the PC user score is even more worrying at 5.6. Those who played Cyberpunk will no doubt remember something similar. Ain't that what? And I'm reading this for the first time. But again, common sense is just common sense. It's not always common though. And it says Starfield peaked at 330,000 concurrent players on Steam. But, now it's losing out to Skyrim at the time of this writing. They were at 22,000. Now they're at 15,000 when we just pulled it up. Wow. This is while concurrent player numbers on Xbox aren't available. And then we showed you where it's losing out to Fallout 4. Right? I thought it was losing out to Fallout 4. Maybe I'm wrong. It says, what's going on here? Are Skyrim, are players going to Skyrim because they're tired of Starfield? Are they looking at the former as a palate cleanser? Maybe just approaching other games to take a break. That's one way to look at it. And it says Skyrim and Fallout 4 more mods. But I think the biggest takeaway from this, and they said here, the problem lies in the future. Even if Bethesda releases lots of DLC, it needs to do more to bolster the core and give it a current players a reason to keep coming back. It sounds like the content is the answer. And this is the thing. People still come back to Bethesda Softworks games. Bethesda told you that they want people playing their games forever. Bethesda wants you to play their games for a long time. I wish I could show you this. He says, but according here, maybe I can. Copy link address. Let's put this up here. It says Starfield was, look, we got to stop fooling ourselves. Starfield was made to be played for a very long time. Todd Howard says it's one of the things the studio has learned from previous games. Starfield was made to be played for a long time. Who said in a Game Maker's Notebook interview with Insomniac CEO Ted Price that after watching how players interact with other Bethesda RPG games like Skyrim and Fallout, he believes people want to play games for a very long time. He says, this is a game that's statistically made to be played for a long time. One of the things that we've learned from our previous games is people want to play them for a very long time. And I think it starts with the developers. I think it starts with technology, the scale of the games. Like, come on. And then it says, according to Bethesda boss Todd Howard, the company wants players to play their games for a long time. Howard based Starfield on how players interacted with other games. He designed Starfield to be replayable with a large scale and rich gameplay systems. Let me see if I can find that here. See if I can find. Huh? Where did it get the word gameplay from? Okay. Okay, no. So let me see. Let me check it. It says, oh, here it goes. Here goes another one. Bethesda intentionally made Starfield to be played for a long time. This is from Games Rant. I got to put this in this DM too. Hold on one second. Give me a second. Hold on, let me do this too. Take this and okay, where is? I want to copy that. I want to put this here. We got a little DM going where we go back and forth. Take one more part. He says, what did it say? Rich gameplay systems. Let me see. Hold on, where's the come on, man. What is going on here? Something ain't right. Stop playing with me, man. Okay, here we go. Let me do it like this. Let's take this and let's do it like this. Oh crap. Can I get rid of that? There we go. All right. And I want to do this too because I want to have this. There we go. All right. Now I can take a snippet of this. All right. I'm going to copy this and then I'm going to put this down here. Drop off makes sense. Laugh out loud. It's crazy. All right. Sorry, I was just. It's crazy, bro. So I put all that out there to say this. the issues that people have with Skyrim, I mean, not Skyrim, with Starfield, make sense. Like as far as like its sustainability. And Microsoft needed it to be sustainable long enough to draw people to Game Pass. I just showed you where it's not being sustainable a la carte sales, where PC is the biggest growth region for game. I mean, not for Game Pass, but just for Xbox, period. That's the, where console may fail them, PC usually picks up the slack. PC is very important for them. And yes, it had a great launch, but this game is not living up to expectations. Expectations are that people would be playing this game for a long time, and it's dropping off faster than any other Bethesda Softworks game, opposite of maybe Fallout 76. That being said, that's not what Xbox wanted, because they need people to play it in Game Pass. And when you look at Game Pass, okay, it's still the most played in Game Pass, of the most played in Game Pass on console. But the problem with that is the growth isn't on console, because as you can see, more people are not getting consoles. These are just the people that already have Game Pass engaging with Starfield. That's it. That's not helping the platform. We saw via the court documents that they needed, 80 plus million or 100 plus million between Game Pass and xCloud and their cloud game in order to make up for the difference of the console sales. And now they're still stuck at 35 million? That's not good. And then when you look at PC Game Pass, this game just is falling off in PC. Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide is doing better than Starfield on PC Game Pass. That's insane to me. And don't give me that crap about, well, it's a single player game and it drops off. It's dropping off faster than any other Bethesda Softworks game, heavy hitting game, quote unquote, before it. And let's go back to it. Bethesda intentionally made Starfield to be played for a long time. It's not meeting expectations. So that's just the controversy of Starfield. Here's what's going on, which is even more peculiar. To combat this controversy, shout out, I'm going to give credit where credit is due, because there's a lot of articles out about this now. But before I show you the articles, I want to show you somebody who showed this to me first before anybody. This was Juicehead. Now, Juicehead is a huge Bethesda Softworks gaming enthusiast. I won't call him a fanboy. He's a great person, great personality, great YouTuber. I have nothing negative to say about Juicehead. Juicehead is fantastic. I remember when I was playing Fallout 76 and there was a lot of people that were just hating on the game or whatever. And so it was hard for me to get like tips and tricks and get reporting on the game. I would go to, I discovered Juicehead. And he is your go-to person when it comes to big open world games like that, like a Cyberpunk or whatever, but mainly, games like this. And mainly Bethesda Softworks games, but games like a Stalker, I imagine Stalker is going to cover that heavily. You know what I'm saying? Games of that ilk he follows, but he mainly follows Bethesda Softworks games like Starfield and Fallout 76 too. So if you're looking for coverage, definitely check out Juicehead. That being said, Juicehead was, he discovered that, he says, Bethesda's responding to negative reviews on Steam. Absolutely bizarre if you ask me. And despite media attention, this hasn't stopped. The last response is from today. So there's been a lot of people responding. I mean, and these people, he says specifically this is coming from Bethesda customer support. The same team to ask banned Fallout 76 players to write an essay to get unbanned. And I just want to show you some of the things that he snapped in this. These are developers responding to negative comments in the Steam reviews. He said, now this person said, while there may be loading screens in between fast travel, I guess somebody was responding negatively to, this element of the game. While there may be loading screens in between fast traveling, just consider the amount of data from the expansive gameplay that is procedurally generated to load flawlessly in under 3 seconds. We believe that shortcoming will not hinder our play. Apparently it is hindering it because people are complaining about it. What they're trying to do is they're trying to respond to criticism to sway people to play it. Because the criticism is so staunch that they're like, oh my gosh, we need to get out there and say something. Let's go to another one. We are sorry that you don't like landing on different planets and are finding many of them empty. Some of Starfield's planets are meant to be empty by design. We already talked about that earlier in the show, about how you're going to try to play this simulation card when there are so many things in this game. The overwhelming majority of the game is not based in simulation. It's just not believed. We're not even going to talk about the fast travel, but it's so much of it is not based in simulation that you only pull out that simulation card when it comes to the things that you fall short in that are empty. Obviously, but some of Starfield's planets are meant to be empty by design, but that's not boring. How do you determine that that's not boring? Apparently, to the majority of gamers, that is boring. When the astronauts went to the moon, like if you were having a game called Staring at the Wall Simulator, and you basically just sat there and stared at the wall, and that was the game, I'm pretty sure some people might kill time with that and just say, oh, this is a crazy, scenario, staring at the wall and watching the shadows change. But to the average gamer, it's boring. This is boring. He says, when the astronauts went to the moon, there was nothing there. They certainly weren't bored. The intention of Starfield's exploration is to evoke a feeling of smallness in players to make you feel overwhelmed. You can continue to explore and find worlds that do have resources you need, but this is the problem. Feel overwhelmed in what? This is not a simulation game. This is not a simulator. This is an action RPG in space. This is not a simulation game. If it was a simulation game, then yes, those that fit in that demographic that want a pure simulation space game, they would probably give that part of it marks as long as you can explore a planet, not tiles. So again, I just find it so disingenuous that the parts of the game that are lacking, you want to blame on it being a simulation or a replication of real life. Well, how come the tiles aren't a replication of real life? I'm not going to talk about the fast travel. Tell me about the tile thing. That's not real life. So either you're trying to be a simulation game or an action game. You can't be both, and then we don't sit there and well the game is you got to look at all the things that we're trying to do. Okay, well then make the scope smaller so the things that you try to do are truly a simulation of the real world event. Give me a full planet instead of tiles. Maybe you got to give me less, but you see how they're everywhere? You can't blame the scope if you're trying to do simulation. If the scope is too big and ambitious for what you would like to do, then you got to shrink the scope in order to make the simulation plausible. Next one. You can fly, you can shoot, you can mine, you can loot. Starfield is an RPG with hundreds of hours of quests and complete characters to meet. Most quests will also vary on your character skills and decisions, massively changing the outcome of your playthrough. Try creating different characters with backgrounds. You will feel like you are playing a totally different game. Put points in different skill. Is that there are so many layers of Starfield, you will find things you never were possible after playing for hundreds of hours. It's disjointed. It doesn't feel good. Those are things that you can attempt to do, but the execution of it all is porous. So yeah, those are things that you try to put together and execute, but the execution was porous. Now, why am I bringing this up after everything that I just said? Because I want people to understand that you don't do something like this unless the game is not doing what you need it to do. If the game is doing what you need it to do, then you don't even make this effort that is cringy and that shoots reputational risk, shoots a whole boatload of it and injects it into the arm of your game. Like, this looks desperate. You don't attempt this unless you are desperate. And because they are desperate, now they're trying to do this. This is bad. But again, this is Xbox's problem and their problem to fix. And I think Xbox, this regime, is too immature when it comes to understanding where their focus needs to be and what it is they need to execute on in order to succeed. They're too immature. Why do I say they're too immature in it? Because I think that this regime is too focused on man. PlayStation really whacked it to us last gen with their perception campaign. I mean, I will admit, most of that success that PlayStation saw early on, 90% of that was perception. The PlayStation games at launch weren't that much better. I mean, they were launching with indies and games like Octodad. Xbox tried something similar this gen and they're getting laughed at. Where their shortcomings were at, they launched a heavy perception game, and Microsoft just responded to it horribly. They responded to it horribly. They looked like the arrogant Microsoft that just wants to dominate and force you down a particular path. And that's why PlayStation got to its huge start. I think things could have been neck and neck. I think PlayStation would have still led because it did things better, but it didn't have the better games at launch. And so then now, by the time Tomb Raider comes out, there's such a gap between the consoles. You are seeing bias related stuff like, well, how come Tomb Raider isn't on PlayStation? That isn't fair. Where that's a problem. And you feel like, okay, well, now we got to win the perception game. No, that was just a fourth quarter audible that PlayStation pulled out because they had nothing else in the bag. They had nothing else in the arsenal. So they played the perception game, and it worked for them because it knocked y'all off balance. And Xbox is looking at that perception game that Sony played, and they're like, they got us with that one. we're gonna get better at that game too. No. PlayStation pulled that perception game out of its bag, and as soon as they needed it no more, they tucked it away. You just were caught off balance. You weren't prepared for it. They did the Statue of Liberty play on you. You just weren't prepared for it. You don't run the Statue of Liberty play every down because now the gig is up. Like PlayStation could never get away with that strategy again. Never. You just came out here and looked arrogant. You came out and looked like a-holes at the beginning of the generation in the eyes of many gamers. And so they ran that Statue of Liberty play and they got away with it. Yeah, do you have it tucked in for a time here and there? Sure. When things are relatively close and the thing that tips the scales for you is the Statue of Liberty play, sure. But now Xbox is trying to run the Statue of Liberty play every down. And for those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about, I'm making it an American football reference. Look up the Statue of Liberty play NFL and watch the video. You'll see that it was a play that was designed. There's also another play it's called the fake down play where in Dan Marino, shout out to Dan Marino, native Pittsburgher as well. Dan Marino faked like he was about to spike the ball to stop the clock, and he did a play and threw it for a touchdown. He did a fake spike. Now you don't do a fake spike every down because the play is designed to catch you off guard. It's one of the worst plays that you could, because the formation of it is one of the worst plays you can do if the defense is prepared. But if the defense is off guard, then you can do it. What Microsoft is trying to do is they're trying to use a trick play that Sony pulled out when they caught Microsoft off guard. They're trying to use that trick play the whole game, and they're losing because what Microsoft has to do is, in order to win this game, you got to win it with quality. You have to, in order to win the full game, you got to win it with quality. You can't use that trick play all day. And that's Microsoft's problem. They want to win they want to win gaming on Twitter. They want to win gaming in engagements on social media. That it's not working. And that's because this immature regime, when it comes to what it is to succeed, they're immature. They're still hung up emotionally on what PlayStation did last gen. They caught you off guard with a trick play. That's it. But they tucked it back in, and now they're playing the regular game with quality. You got to get your head back in the game. Microsoft still hasn't gotten their head back in the game. They still don't know how to curate great content. They still don't know how to judge how the public is going to receive things that they release. Why? Because they think they can overcompensate whatever shortcomings they have by running a trick play, by playing this perception game. It's not going to work now. It was just a trick play. Microsoft is too immature to realize that. And that's why they're losing, and that's why they will continue to lose until they up the quality. They got to get better people in that know how to curate better games, that are going to get better reception. There is no Xbox tax. There's a quality expectation. And your games just aren't reaching quality. You don't believe me? Look at the scores. Just look at them. Look at the user scores. People don't like these games. They don't. Look at them. Look. 66.9. These are people that are out here that have purchased the game. And this is the biggest drop off that a high class BSG title has ever seen. It's a 4% retention rate. That's horrible. When you got games like Baldur's Gate that are also single player in nature. I mean, yeah, there's multiplayer components, but most people are playing the single player game. Games like that are seeing an 8% retention. And they've broke records. And they're still seeing an 8% retention. Your game is losing out to your early variations of games from 11 years ago. From 11 years ago. There are more people playing Skyrim right now that are playing Starfield on Steam. Why does that matter? Because the PC market is the market that compensates for the lackluster sales and engagements on console. And it helps subsidize the efforts, the loss leading efforts, until Gamepass starts hitting those numbers that y'all need. Right now, it appears to be stuck at 35 million. Y'all need this thing to be at like 80 million, according to your own estimates that were released in court. So until it gets there, you got to compensate somewhere. You're not selling consoles. You're not killing it in console sales. So PC is where you're seeing your growth. So when you see it drop off like this on Steam, it's horrible. Now, you don't have to believe it at all. You ain't got to believe it if you're a fanboy or a zealot. But you know who does believe it? Guess who believes it? Bethesda and Xbox. Hence why they're out here in Steam reviews. Customer support this is unprecedented. Unprecedented to see them out here trying to convince people that, hey, don't trust your lying eyes. I don't know what to tell y'all, except for y'all have to speak up to Microsoft. You have to tell them to stop being shell-shocked by what happened last gen. Get over it. PlayStation, were they fully transparent and fully honest? No, they ran a trick play on y'all. They didn't have the substance and the content at launch. They admitted it because people were like, hold on, where's these games coming? And they said, look, we're falling behind, but trust us. Uncharted 4 is coming. Once we drop Uncharted 4, you're going to start seeing a bunch of stuff. It took them a few years. All they did was they had more indie games. Come on now. And again, I'm not trying to crap on indie games, but when we're talking about high class AAA consoles, indie games are not what drives that. And then they had better performing multiplats that you didn't know were better performing unless Digital Foundry told you so. They just ran that perception. They ran a trick play. You were caught off guard because we've never had to deal with the likes of a Digital Foundry. And this was the first time that, Microsoft came off looking and sounding like a-holes since the inception, or not Microsoft, but Xbox. They started sounding like the parent company Microsoft, and they really started sounding like a-holes more and execs more so than people that care about gamers. This is the first time they've ever felt like that. And they're like, see, this is that Microsoft thing. And PlayStation played on that perception. It was a trick play until their quality got up. They got y'all with a trick play. Okay, y'all can learn how to do it too when the time presents itself, but you don't run the trick play every damn down. And that's what Microsoft is trying to win over gamers on Twitter and via social media with these salt mine content creators. That's why they fly them out and have them play these games that are trash, and then they sit there and they trade talking points and they try to come back and damage control over this crap. You got to just go back to, don't even worry about what's going on with PlayStation. Don't even worry about it. Go to Microsoft and convince them, get out of the social media, get out of Twitter, get in the lab, make us some great games. Because doing stuff like this is going to, and hear me out, it's going to collapse Xbox, not necessarily Microsoft Gaming. Microsoft Gaming is here to stay, but it's going to collapse Xbox in a major way. And most of you that are out here on Twitter as well, gobbling up this crap, y'all engage with Xbox via Xbox. Y'all don't have the PCs capable to play these games. You're not playing in the cloud because the cloud isn't suitable for you. You're playing via Xbox. And if you're playing via Xbox, you're going to have a problem if this continues. All right, that's it from your boy. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below, because like I always say, who cares what I think? But if you did enjoy this, check out the links below to follow me. And until next time, people, have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.